Today I'm going to talk about 10 things I eliminated, and still try to eliminate daily, that completely changed the way I live. They didn't just improve my life, they reduced that internal weight.
I was talking to a friend the other day, and she told me something that stayed stuck in my head. She said, "I do everything right. I wake up early, I work, I take care of my home, I take care of myself. But it still feels like I'm carrying a weight inside me." I hear this from people all the time. They feel a weight, but they can't explain why. And here's what I've realized. As human beings, we spend our entire lives accumulating things, not just objects. We accumulate other people's opinions, expectations, beliefs that were handed to us, beliefs we never questioned. We carry so much mental baggage that we forget to ask a simple question. Do my beliefs actually make sense for me? Do I truly believe this? Or am I just repeating something I absorbed a long time ago? Today, I'm going to talk about 10 things I eliminated and still try to eliminate daily that completely changed the way I live. They didn't just improve my life. They reduced that internal weight. Because the best gift you can give yourself is this. Step out of the spotlight for a while, do an internal cleanup, and come back as someone unrecognizable. Not because you're pretending to be someone else, but because you finally stopped carrying what was never yours. And when I say prosper, I'm not talking only about money. Everything can prosper. Your relationships, your family, your work, your health, your spirituality, your self-knowledge. To prosper means to grow, to advance, to make something in your life finally start producing fruit. And here's the hard truth. The same mindset that created a problem cannot be the mindset that solves it. If you want a different life, you need a different inner structure. So think of this as a manual, a reform, a mental renovation. 10 things to eliminate quietly, consistently, and seriously. The first thing I eliminated, and I recommend you eliminate, is your old identity. That old version of you, built from beliefs you received and never questioned. The version everyone knows. The version people expect you to keep being. You're shy. You've always been like that. You're not good with money. You're disorganized. You're not the athletic type. You always leave things to the last minute. You never finish what you start. We could spend hours listing the labels people place on us. Family, friends, teachers, leaders. And eventually, we repeat those labels to ourselves. The problem is, many of those statements come from other people's inner emptiness, their fears, their limitations, their beliefs. They project their reality onto you, not necessarily because they want to harm you, but because it makes their world feel stable if you stay inside the role they assigned. And if you hear something long enough, you start believing it. You slowly shape yourself around an identity you didn't consciously choose. I remember for years seeing myself as someone who couldn't prosper financially, someone who couldn't grow, someone who couldn't get out of debt. I told that story like it was genetic, like it was printed in my DNA. Then one day I stopped and asked, who said this? Why do I believe it? And that question started a painful but deeply liberating process. I realized a large part of who I thought I wasn't me. It was an accumulation of old sentences, past experiences, and fears I had turned into certainty. A lot of the way people feel comes from carrying an outdated version of themselves, from insisting on being who they were instead of allowing themselves to become who they're becoming. Letting go of your old identity isn't denying your past. It's recognizing you are not imprisoned by it. You're allowed to change today. You're allowed to update your self-definition. And that isn't hypocrisy. That's growth. The second thing I eliminated is the illusion that I need everything under control. For me, this is still one of the hardest because I value planning. Organization gives me comfort. But there's a massive difference between being organized and needing to control everything. When you plan, You're preparing yourself to act well. You have direction, but you remain open to detours, surprises, and unexpected opportunities. You move forward with intelligence, not rigidity. But when you need control, you're not just doing your part. You're trying to guarantee a specific outcome. You want to dictate how everything happens, how people react, what they think, how you'll feel, how the ending will look. That's where suffering begins. Because when you try to control everything, you stop living. You stop experiencing life and start trying to write a script for it. And life doesn't follow scripts. It improvises. It changes. It surprises you. When you're trapped in control, any detour becomes a threat. Any unexpected event feels like proof you failed. You stop enjoying the path because you're obsessed with the destination. You stop listening to people because you already decided what they should say. You stop trying because you can't tolerate uncertainty. And the worst part, you make everything your responsibility. As if it's your job to guarantee nobody is disappointed and nothing goes wrong. That burden is impossible. Because the truth is simple. People aren't controllable. The future isn't controllable. Outcomes aren't controllable. A sentence that changed everything for me is this: you can control your actions, but you cannot control results. When I actually internalized it, I started letting go of outcomes. I focused on what was truly mine: my intention, my discipline, my posture, my effort. And paradoxically, when I stopped gripping outcomes like a desperate person, results began appearing in ways I didn't predict. Because life responds better to clarity than to desperation. Letting go is a daily practice, not a one-time decision. Even now, I still catch myself trying to control things. But now, I notice it, and I ask, is this actually in my control, or am I just feeding anxiety? Letting go of control is an act of courage, because it requires trust. Trust in the process. Trust in people. Trust in yourself. Trust that even if things don't go as planned, you will handle it. The third thing I eliminate daily is excessive information and screen time. Digital noise. This one is sneaky because we live in a world where information is treated like wealth. The message is always the same: stay informed. Don't fall behind. But constant information is often a silent trap. It gives you fast dopamine, then emptiness, then the urge for more. You wake up, grab your phone, scroll feeds, absorb opinions, news, outrage, tutorials, gossip, motivation clips, controversies. And before breakfast, you've consumed more information than people used to consume in a year. That overload creates anxiety and confusion because you're not just consuming information, you're consuming emotional weight. Anger from headlines, envy from posts, pressure from stories, guilt from comparisons, fear from constant negativity. And the darkest part is this: people start replacing their own thinking with other people's opinions. They don't reflect anymore. They just adopt whatever 15 loud voices told them to think. When you don't protect your mental silence, you lose your inner voice. The fourth thing I eliminated is comparison. Social media is a machine built to produce comparison. You watch edited, filtered highlights of other lives and compare it to your messy reality. People compare their real life to someone else's best angle, and comparison never ends. No matter what you achieve, there will always be someone who appears ahead. More money, better body, bigger success, better lifestyle, happier relationship, at least in appearance. Comparison steals joy. You accomplish something meaningful, and instead of celebrating, you look at someone who has more and immediately feel behind. You miss your own life while staring at someone else's. The truth is, you never see the full story. That person might be paying a price you wouldn't pay. They might be fighting battles you don't see. You cannot compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20 and call it reality. Your only honest comparison is with yourself. Where were you a year ago? What did you overcome? What did you build? Stop looking sideways if you want peace. The fifth thing I eliminated is the rush for immediate results. The obsession with fast. We live in instant gratification culture. You can stream anything, order anything, learn anything quickly. So people unconsciously expect the same speed from transformation. I want results now. I want change now. And if it doesn't happen quickly, they quit. The things that matter aren't conquered. They're built, and building takes time. There's a difference between conquest and construction. Conquest can happen overnight, and it can be stolen overnight. Construction takes patience, structure, repetition, foundations. You don't build a strong relationship in a week. You don't build a healthy body in a month. You don't build a sustainable business in 3 months. You don't build wisdom in a year. The human mind gets so obsessed with the destination that it forgets to be present in the process. It wants shortcuts, hacks, secrets, and it gets frustrated when reality demands consistency instead. The rush is not only the enemy of perfection, it's the enemy of depth. So instead of asking, when will I arrive? Ask, am I building something solid? Because what is built in haste collapses easily. What is built with time and repetition stays. The sixth thing I eliminated is fear of other people's opinions. There's a difference between knowing you shouldn't care and actually not being controlled by it. When criticism destroys you, it's rarely because the criticism is true. It's because it touched a wound that was already there. The person didn't create the pain. They pressed a button that already existed inside you. The way out is not convincing everyone to like you. The way out is knowing yourself so deeply that other people's opinions lose their grip. When you truly accept yourself, including your flaws, you stop needing to defend your image all the time. You can hear feedback without panic. You can filter what helps and discard what doesn't without drama. And here's another truth. Most people aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you think. They're busy thinking about themselves, their insecurities, their survival. Everyone is terrified of being judged, so most don't have time to judge you deeply. And even when they judge, it's often projection. Their fear, their emptiness, their wounds. The seventh thing I eliminated is the need to explain myself, the habit of over-justifying. Listen to how people speak. They say no, and then immediately produce a long list of reasons like they're defending themselves in court. I can't go because I have to wake up early, and I have a commitment tomorrow. Why do you need 3 reasons for a no? Why do you need a reason at all? Many people feel like they need to provide a convincing case for the right to live their own life. That's an invisible prison. And it's worse because the more you justify, the more you give the other person something to argue with. Oh, the headache will pass. You can reschedule. I'll help you. Suddenly, you're negotiating a boundary that never should have been negotiable. A clean boundary is simple. I can't. Not this time. No. And stop. Clarity is not rudeness. It's self-respect. The 8th thing I eliminate is negative thinking. But let me clarify. Eliminating negative thoughts doesn't mean never having negative thoughts. That's impossible. The mind produces thoughts. That's what it does. The real skill is what you do after a thought appears. For a long time, I fought my thoughts. A negative thought would appear, and I'd panic. Why am I thinking this? What's wrong with me? Then I'd try to push it down or force a positive thought on top. It doesn't work. What you resist persists. The harder you fight, the more energy you give the thought. The turning point is realizing a thought is not the truth. It's a mental event, often automatic, often inherited, often disconnected from reality. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them. When you understand that, you stop being terrified of your own mind. You stop merging with thoughts. Instead, you observe. You question. Is this true? Is this useful? Is this mine, or did I inherit it? Then you let it pass without feeding it with fear. Some negative thoughts aren't enemies. They're signals. But the poison is when you fuse with them. When I'm having a thought, becomes I am the thought. Freedom isn't silencing the mind forever. Freedom is stopping the habit of believing everything the mind says. The ninth thing I eliminate is self-destructive habits. Not only the obvious ones like excess alcohol or impulsive spending, but the quiet ones. Scrolling when you have something important to do. Sleeping late when you need rest. Saying yes when you don't want to. Choosing what harms you, even when what helps you is available. Why do people sabotage themselves right when things are going well? Why do they procrastinate the project that could change their life? Why do they break their own progress? Often, it's because a part of them doesn't believe they deserve what they're building. The unknown can feel dangerous, even when it's better than your current reality. The mind prefers familiar suffering over unfamiliar growth. So when you get close to something bigger, an unconscious part pulls the emergency brake. If you want to stop self-sabotage, don't just fight the habit. Investigate the belief underneath it. The 10th and final thing I eliminated is the inability to receive. Watch how most people respond to compliments. You look great today. No, I don't. I look awful. This is old. It was cheap. They deflect. They shrink. They don't allow good things to enter. And it's not just compliments. Someone offers help and you refuse. Someone offers an opportunity and you assume you don't deserve it. Someone gives love and you get uncomfortable. Many people think this is humility. Often it's not. It's a wound. The inability to receive is a silent message. I don't deserve. But prosperity requires receiving. Love requires receiving. Opportunities require receiving. Abundance in any form requires open hands. Receiving is courage. It's letting something good land without guilt, without shrinking, without immediately trying to repay it out of discomfort. When you learn to receive, your life changes. You stop living in scarcity and start living in flow. You stop fighting the current and allow yourself to be carried by it. So, to summarize, here are the 10 things to eliminate quietly if you want more flow and real results in your life. An outdated identity that was never truly yours. The illusion that you must control everything. Digital noise and excessive screen time. Comparison with other people. The rush for immediate results. Fear of other people's opinions. The need to constantly explain and justify yourself. Identification with negative thoughts. Self-destructive habits, especially the quiet ones. And the inability to receive. None of these weights are permanent. They're not your essence. They're layers you accumulated without noticing. And you don't have to remove everything at once. Start with one. The one that hit you hardest. The one you felt in your body while listening. That's usually the layer that's been stealing your life the longest. If you want to evolve, follow inside out. If you don't.